The contracts that our RFAs have to sign have serious implications on the Flames' future. Craig Conroy has multiple players to sign like Morgan Frost and Connor Zary, and some comparables have come out of Philadelphia that have given us a glimpse into the future and what the contracts could look like. We're going to get into all that and more in this video, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I'm Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family, and let's hop straight in and talk about the Frost contract. That's where the first comparable is coming in, and thank goodness for Philadelphia. Danny Briere has been shelling out contracts lately, so it's kind of given the Flames an idea of what guys like Morgan Frost, former Philadelphia Flyer, and Connor Zary could potentially get in a contract, as they of course are RFAs right now, and Conroy has shown he's ready to sign them as he signed Coronato, and Frost and Zary are a couple of the next guys up, and we have a wonderful set of articles here from Ryan Pike, one of the best Flames minds out there. So huge, all credit due to him for both articles in this video. We're not going to go over the entirety of both, but both essentially go exactly into what we're talking about here. So here's the headline. What does Noah Cates' contract extension mean for Morgan Frost's next Flames deal? As you can see, this was written by Ryan Pike today. So, man, it sure does seem like the Philadelphia Flyers are doing their level best to set the market for the Calgary Flames restricted free agents, doesn't it? After re-upping Tyson Foerster last week, which we'll go over in the second part of this video, the Flyers announced on Tuesday that they've signed Noah Cates to a 4-year extension with a $4 million AAV. Much like Foerster's new deal carried possible impacts for Connor Zary, which again we'll get into, Cates' signing could have implications for Morgan Frost's next contract. There's your serious implications for the future of the Flames. Are Zary and Frost a part of that, and what do these contracts mean? Cates turned 26 in February, and he's a left-shot winger. He was a 5th-round pick, 137th overall in the 2017 NHL Draft. He played a year of junior hockey in the USHL and then 4 years of college at the University of Minnesota Duluth before going pro at the end of the 2021-22 season. He's played 3 full NHL seasons. He has 40 goals and 102 points over 235 NHL games. So not bad for Cates, but it's the comparables that we can get into. I left the sound on my phone if you heard that. Frost turned 26 in May. I also met him in May, and he's a left shot center. He was a 1st-round pick, 27th overall in the 2017 NHL Draft. So already a couple of comparables here. He spent 2 seasons in junior with the OHL Sioux Greyhounds after being selected. He went pro at the start of the 2018-19 season, but he bounced between the NHL and AHL before becoming a full-time NHLer in 2022-23. It's only been that long that Frost has been a permanent NHLer. Like Cates, he's played 3 full NHL seasons. He has 53 goals and 147 points over 302 games. So again, the stats are comparable. Frost has played 67 more NHL games than Cates, but much of those were during the period where he was splitting time between the NHL and AHL. If you compare just their 3 full-time seasons, Cates had 35 goals and 93 points in 219 games, and Frost has 46 goals and 142 points in 233 games. Wow, the stats are close. On a per-game basis, Frost has an edge in goals at 0.197 to 0.160 and points in 0.532 to 0.425, which Cates getting 4 years at $4 million might not be a great thing for us if Frost does demand something similar. So, but with Cates getting locked in at $4 million, at a $4 million cap hit, you could argue that Frost should probably be coming in a bit higher than that, perhaps in the neighborhood of $4.5 million per season. The contract projections by the folks over at Evolving Hockey slot Frost in at 4 years at over $5 million. That feels a bit high given Frost's offensive production, but considering a 4-year deal would buy 3 seasons of free agents eligibility, perhaps that's not a bad forecast. So there you go. There's the comparable, the first one. If I were to guess, maybe we will see something in the 4-year, $4.5 million per season range. I would much rather have it be around 4.5 than at 5. Obviously, as we're trying to save the pennies, because who knows who we may have to pay later or who we might pick up in free agency. So already, it's a great comparable between Cates and Frost, and it gives us some insight into what we could see for Morgan Frost's future for the Flames, and, you know, there's a chance we could see a hint of the future at the center position for the Flames, of course, with Frost and also with Connor Zary. So without further ado, let's get into the Zary contract now that Pike alluded to a little bit in today's article. But if we throw it back to the one from a few days ago, so back on June 1st, it was what does Tyson Foerster's contract extension mean for Connor Zary's next Flames deal? And it's essentially the same article, just looking at two different Flames and two different Flyers. So let's get into this one. When it comes to contract negotiations, life is always easier for both parties when a comparable market value already exists. Throwing out your own estimations of your player's valuation is challenging sometimes, especially if a player is pretty early in their playing career and hasn't established themselves, which is exactly where Connor Zary is at and where the Calgary Flames are at with Connor Zary. So when another team locks in a similar player, that takes the guesswork out of negotiations. With that said, let's talk about the Flyers forward Tyson Foerster, a pending restricted free agent that just signed a 2-year extension with the Flyers earlier this week in a $3.75 million cap hit, and what that means for Calgary Flames forward Connor Zary. So again, that's already a bit of money right there at 3.75. Foerster turned 23 in January, and he's a right-shot winger. He was selected 23rd overall in the 2020 NHL draft, and he went pro in 2022-23. He became a full-time NHLer the following season and has 2 full NHL campaigns under his belt. Through 3 pro seasons, he has 32 goals and 68 points in 99 AHL games and 48 goals and 83 points in 166 NHL games, of course, there. Zary turned 23 in September, and he's a left shot forward who plays a mix of wing and center in the NHL. He was selected 1 spot after Foerster in 2020 at 24th overall, and because he's a late birthday, he was able to go pro a year earlier than Foerster in 2021-22. Like Foerster, he became a full-time NHLer in 2023-24, and he too has 2 full NHL seasons under his belt. Through 4 pro seasons, Zary has 38 goals and 100 points in 140 AHL games and 27 goals and 61 points in 117 NHL games. So again, another very good comparable. It's crazy kind of the comparables going between Philadelphia and Calgary here. Quite wild. On a per-game basis in their NHL careers, Foerster has 0.289 goals and 0.5 points per game, while Zary has 0.231 and 0.521 points per game. So a little bit less on the goals, but a little bit more in the points. This past season, Foerster had 0.309 goals and 0.531 points per game, while Zary had 0.241 goals and 0.5 points per game. So Zary just a little bit behind there. So that number we saw before at 3.75 mil, you'd expect Zary to be a little bit under that based on the stats. Should these guys be paid somewhat similarly? Sure. They're pretty similar players this early in their careers, and their production is similar. However, Foerster has a larger NHL sample size due to Zary's bad injury luck this season. He scores goals at a slightly higher pace than Zary does, and he had slightly better point production this season. So, if it feels like we're trending towards a 2-year bridge deal for Zary, which certainly feels like it would work, the cap hit would probably be a smidge lower than Foerster got. Honestly, it could be essentially the exact same contract with a slightly smaller AAV. In other words, Foerster's bridge deal probably set the absolute ceiling for a Zary bridge deal. The model over at Evolving Hockey projected Zary at 2 years at just over 3.5 mil, and that definitely feels like a fair market value given what we know about Zary and the marketplace. So, we've talked about the mystery of Zary's contract in, past videos. This might have solved the mystery a little bit when you look at comparables, because surely Conroy and the Flames are going to do that, and honestly, surely Zary is going to do that as well. I think 2 years at 3.5 mil is probably exactly what both parties kind of envisioned at the beginning. So it definitely could happen, and it's cool to see a little glimpse into the future for both Frost and Zary, and we're just waiting on Craig Conroy to make the deals at this point with the agents and the players themselves as well. Now let's get into the comment of the day to wrap up this video, as we love to do here on the channel. Comes from yesterday's video, and it just worked so well with what we're talking about in this vid. So Shane here, good old Shane, said, I'm not going to do the whole comment just because there was a lot, but this top part is so relevant. Shane said, on Zary, give him 2 by 3 mil AAV. He breaks out next year, extend him to more money. And honestly, That's a pretty reasonable contract. Again, I'm sure Zary will try and go more for that 3.5, but it's so true. If he does break out in the next year, then boom, you can sign him to a longer deal if he wants to stay here, which I'm sure he will because the future looks bright. But that was a great comment, so thank you so much for providing us with that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe like you saw here today and have a wonderful rest of your day.